Brahmin democracy.
Sir, this obsession with Chanakya and Brahmins...
Shudra has got different and Kachatri has different.
Sir, I think you are not in touch. So I think you are not in touch with the reality in India. It's not going to be appropriate, Mr. Kasuri, to make sweeping statements.
It is clear that Mr. Kasuri's knowledge of the caste system in India is better than his law.
Well, I don't want to... Mr. Kasuri likes to keep mentioning the caste system in India. I mean, I don't know if Mr. Kasuri's understanding is stuck at the 17th century. I don't want to get into that. My question is simply to Maruf that today we have a choice.
See, we have talk of your secularism.
Mr. Kasuri, we are talking about a certain Mr. Tunda. I'll tell you who I'm interested in talking about, Mr. Kasuri. Mr. Kasuri, we are...
His finance minister was Raja Todermal. Can you have in 2013
Mr. Kasuri, let's
Muslim as your defense
Mr. Kasuri, one second, please, one second.
Secularism and
Mr. Kasuri, 1 second. Mr. Kasuri, if you cannot have any answers to the very specific 6 or 7 questions I've given you here today, there is no point in trying to go into medieval history to answer.
I think you are spoilers of the good relations.
Well, I think, Mr. Kasuri, if you just lock up Hamid Gul and Hafiz Saeed, hand them over to us, and if you have the courage to deal with Dawood Ibrahim, and you don't force us, because the growing feeling is this. No, because the growing feeling, you see what has happened. Mr. Kasuri,
investigate him.
Mr. Kasuri, 1 minute.
Find out the designs of India.
Mr. Kasuri, what happens is, Mr. Kasuri, that India today has a lot of clout in the global community. So we will get everyone, whether it is Dawood or Hafiz Saeed eventually. The question is whether you do it voluntarily or involuntarily. And the way in which Tunda has come through channels allegedly from the Middle East are a direct consequence of India's growing clout in the UAE as well. So there is a growing view that eventually we'll get all these people, but it would be better if Pakistan cooperates in the process. Maruf, what's your response to our guest from Islamabad?
You have also leveled allegations.
Well, I just want to respond to a couple of points both the guests have raised. Mr. Kasuri, sir, please hear me out, sir. I've been patiently listening to you. Please hear me out. My points are as follows. General Qureshi says that retired officers do not have links. Even Mr. Kasuri says retired officers don't have links. General Qureshi would know only too well. General Musharraf is also a retired officer. And our understanding and international understanding is that Musharraf today is getting whatever preferential treatment he is getting, despite there are various efforts to pin him down for acts of treason because he enjoys a certain degree of support from Rawalpindi. That apart, is General Qureshi going to tell us that he doesn't have any links with any military officers since he is retired and he's leading a life of a completely, being in intellectual and academic circles, completely devoid of any military contact? This is absolutely unacceptable. Now, Mr. Kasuri keeps harping on the point about Baluchistan. So let me put a few facts in front of you. The biographer of General Musharraf has a full chapter on Baluchistan. Are you going to deny that Baluchis have not been given employment in the Gwadar port, which was set up in Baluchistan, and Punjabi labor was bought and they were marginalized? Are you going to deny that Baluchi gas is largely consumed by Punjab and Baluch gets no access to it and no benefit from it? Your own civil servant, Mr. Akbar Ahmed, in his book, The Thistle and the Don, has made a full chapter on Baluchistan, and in which there is not a single word of reference of India's role in Baluchistan. Why and what happened to Baluchistan in the last 60 years? Even, sir, please hear me out. What happened to Baluchistan in the last 60 years? Even if India was involved in the last 10 years, how is it that you have a mess in your hand 50 years prior to India's involvement? Do you have answers to that? You people continue to make articles of faith of non-issues and then continue to keep harping on that this is wrong with India, that is wrong with India. Why don't you look into the mirror? Why don't you smell the coffee? Why don't you get real? Your Chinese have abandoned you and they are fed up with your tryst with terrorism. The Saudis don't want to have link with you and your terror nexus. The Americans are just waiting to dump you in 2014. Where are you going to go, sir? Who's going to hold your hand? Just Manmohan Singh and his government?
I understand your psyche.
Sir, you brought up this point before. You have to come and live in India to understand how secularism works. Unfortunately, you have no idea of the Indian ethos. You people call yourself Muslims and you kill Shias every other day on the streets of Pakistan. 20% of your population is Shias and you have no patience with them. So don't lecture us on secularism.
Socio-economic security.
So I think
Maruf has spoken non-stop for the last 5-10 minutes.
No, about
and I have not understood a word of what he said.
Sir, you are not willing to
Frankly,
look at
if
it.
the effort was to convince us
Well, I can repeat it for you, sir.
your audience of your righteousness, I think you need to cool down and talk point by point of what allegations you're trying to make.
In that
and
case,
also listen to the answers that we give you.
No,
if you understand them, appreciate it.
Yes.
If you do not understand them,
fair enough.
I think you need to go back and look up the dictionary to find out what we are saying.
Sir, General Qureshi, I gave you, I gave you three, I gave you, Maruf, 1 minute, Maruf, 1 minute, Maruf, 1 minute. General Qureshi,
Pakistan Army officer,
General Qureshi,
retired or serving,
General Qureshi,
whose name people in India might know,
General Qureshi,
for every terrorist activity that is within India,
General Qureshi,
which takes germination within the state of India and blaming it on Pakistan and more than that, trying to say
General
that the
Qureshi, 1 minute, General Qureshi, listen to
and
me.
the ISI,
Maruf, 1 minute.
General Qureshi, sir.
1 minute. General Qureshi.
While Indian Raw
General
and
Qureshi.
Indian Army,
So you,
which
General Qureshi.
Sir, I'll tell you. What's 1 minute.
General Qureshi, sir. If you are arguing, General Qureshi, sir.
There is, I can also go on talking and talking and talking for the next 15 minutes. I can perhaps shout louder than you. But it's pointless.
General Qureshi, I'll tell you one thing. No, General Qureshi, you neither have to know. Will you listen? Okay. So should I time you 1 second? No, 1 second. 1 second. Maruf, 1 minute. 1 minute, Maruf. 1 minute. Can I have a moment of silence?
Will you let me give
No, 1
point?
second. Because General Qureshi has tried to compete in the length of his answer, which I think, General Qureshi, may I actually compliment you and say that you did try to compete very well as far as the length of the answer is concerned. But in terms of the focus of the answer,
I think your elections are
in terms of the focus of the answer, one second. General Qureshi, tell me, General Qureshi, let General Qureshi answer for himself, sir. General Qureshi can answer for himself. General Qureshi, why do I have a feeling that in terms of the focus and directness of the answer, something seems to be missing from what you say? Because I asked you 6 times one question, and 6 times or 7 times you avoided that. And that question now I'll ask you a 7th time. And if you want to avoid it a 7th time, you can avoid it. And that question is this. If your officers retire very quietly, like Hamid Gul retired and then he led a normal civilian life, tell me, why did Hamid Gul respond to Musharraf's statement about helping the Taliban in 2006? Simple. The moment you answer this, I'll rest my case. Answer this. Answer this.
I have no idea.
Oh, yes, you have an idea.
Of Musharraf or Hamid Gul getting into a conversation.
Sir, how can you be so unaware?
Frankly,
October 2006, I'll send you the details.
Now that you've listened to this answer, now you should produce.
But that's no answer. That's no answer.
Pervez Musharraf had said these words about Hamid Gul.
Yes, of course. Pervez Musharraf said in October 2006 that ex-ISI members may be helping the Taliban.
2008, you can say something, you can give a date.
You know something.
Which is 5 years old.
Sir, you know.
And which nobody would be remembering.
Sir, you know.
I mean, October 2008, October 2008, Pervez Musharraf
I'm giving a last response to Mahesh Jetpalani. Last response from the Indian side to Mahesh Jetpalani.
You know, Arnav, we've had many discussions with our Pakistani guests on the export of terrorism and our disappointment with their response over there. But we seem to be getting nowhere. I mean, this is just a last thought for our Pakistani guests. It's more of an appeal than anything else. And this is really to tell them that as voices grow dimmer and dimmer regarding terrorism in Pakistan, including from civil society, not just from officialdom, there's a growing constituency in this country that is increasingly getting turned off Pakistan and doesn't want to extend. 1 minute, Mr.
We should avoid this kind of a discussion
Mr. Kasuri, let me just finish.
Involved in a more sober,
Mr. Kasuri,
productive and healthy discussion so that we can create
yes, Mr.
an
Kasuri,
environment of friendship,
just wait.
amity and affection.
Mr. Kasuri, I don't know if you're used to interrupting like this all the time, but just let me say this. All I'm saying is, as you grow increasingly impervious to our pleas to react for terrorism, you must just realize that in India there's an increasing constituency that no longer wants to extend a hand of friendship with you. That's all I can say. We give you growing evidence. We give you human evidence supported by dossiers. And I will urge our government to corroborate the oral evidence of all these terrorists, Pakistani sponsored, the latest one being Kunda, to corroborate them with other facts.
Well, we have a human dossier. It depends on how the government wants to use it. As someone said today, if the government has a human dossier, it doesn't want to use it, doesn't want to confront Pakistan and still clink champagne glasses in New York, it's going to come down to nothing. So the choice very much is with the government of India as well. Thank you very much to our guests in Islamabad, Mumbai and Delhi tonight for joining me on that debate. Thank you.